Alright, so this is the document. It is again created by CISA, FBI and ISAC. It is a document that is supposed to help us understand and respond to distributed denial of service attacks. It's created in March 21st this year. And I'm not going to go into deep technicalities about the different protocols and how these types of attacks work. Probably I'm going to make a secondary video that's going to go in depth on those stuff. But here I'm going to try and focus on what's the most important thing for the business and for the people watching. And basically the objective is to protect yourself against this type of attack, right? So just real quick, they have provided, of course, the majority of you probably already know what is the difference between distributed denial of service and denial of service, but I'm gonna just real quick explain. So on the left side, we have a malicious attacker that is connecting to a command and control server from which he is initiating an attack towards some type of infrastructure. This could be website or server, right? On the right side, we have a, again, malicious actor that is connecting to a command and control server from which he is controlling multiple bots that could be either compromised devices from public vulnerabilities, or they could be configured from the malicious actor himself. So this type of attack, denial of service, is extremely relevant. We should understand the ins and outs of it because it is the go-to technique for attacking organizations. Why? Because it's really cheap. It costs like $5 per system for a couple hours to create the configuration and everything for a successful attack against the organization, and it costs thousands of dollars for the victims in damages. So it is a very effective type of attack, and in this scenario we have a command and control that is controlling these bots through which he could conduct such operations. In this case, they have pictured a couple of them. There are more options: spam generation, denial of service, infect systems by spreading malware, for example, and phishing attacks. Those bots simultaneously attack websites and servers or infrastructure generally. So they have explained three technique types: the volume-based attacks, which aim to consume the available bandwidth. Well, all of those techniques have that aim to consume the available bandwidth or system resources so that they can create the condition for a denial of service. I'm not going to go into deep technical level, but I'm just going to give an example. For example, the UDP flood is where we have an attacker that is flooding a variety of UDP ports and services working on those ports with a lot of information traffic that is congesting the pipe of information, the channel of information. Therefore, the server cannot actually respond to legitimate traffic. I'm just going to give a second example with IP security flooding. Probably this is for VPN access, where you have a malicious actor that is creating a lot of requests for VPN connections. Therefore, the server cannot really process the legitimate requests. There we have a scenario of denial of service. So we have volumetric attacks. We also have protocol-based attacks where the attack is focused more on the protocols and services. So where certain protocols like TCP, IP, and other protocols in certain scenarios allow for them to be attacked. In this case, the attacks happen on the network layer or the transport layer. And we have application layer based attacks. Application layer based attacks happen due to a couple of reasons. The primary ones are vulnerabilities that could allow for large amount of traffic to be sent from the application to the server, or in certain misconfigurations in the headers or the protocols or the DNS configuration as well, where the attacker can send a lot of information to the server for processing, which could exhaust his resources or its resources and cause a denial of service. What steps should an organization take before experiencing a DDoS attack? So, before experiencing is a key. It's really important for you to take proactive measures so that you are prepared for eventual attack, right? The first one that they are describing is risk assessment. conducting a thorough assessment to determine your organization's vulnerability to denial-of-service attacks. So doing a penetration test, for example, could help you identify vulnerabilities that could cause such a scenario. Although a penetration test have much more value than just discovering such scenarios. It could help you understand the current security posture of your digital assets and understand in what ways they can be compromised. So one of the ways is denial of service, right? So identify potential vulnerabilities in your network infrastructure, systems, and applications. Such an assessment will also help your organization understand the potential impact of such an attack and aid in prioritizing and implementing appropriate security measures. How? Well, by discovering it preemptively, you can close that vulnerability so that when the malicious actor comes and tries to exploit it, it's no longer there for use. So you are proactively defending yourself. Network monitoring. It's really important to have an IDS and IPS to basically watch out for anomalies in the traffic and do something about it. Traffic analysis. The majority of the things that they have displayed here are provided by default by such security solutions. So it's really important to implement IDS and IPS, NDS, XDR, and so on. Implement CAPTCHA. Integrating a CAPTCHA challenge into a website or online service can help differentiate between human users and automated bots. Therefore, this could prevent a denial-of-service attack, because if the bot fails the CAPTCHA challenge, then it's not going to be able to use that functionality and spam requests towards the server. Therefore, this request, of course, is not going to happen at all in the case where we have a CAPTCHA challenge. Incident response plan. This is something that a lot of small to medium enterprises underestimate, and it's extremely important. I cannot emphasize how important this is. Why? Because when an attack happens, you have a scenario where everybody is stressed, everybody is scared and pressured. Nobody can, not nobody, but it's really hard to think straight. So if you have an incident response plan, not only in the case of a denial of service, but generally an incident response plan, you just get it and start step by step implementing what's there to act and react on the situation, to minimize the damages, to get your infrastructure back and running, and to prevent further damages. It's extremely time-sensitive matter, so having a plan is going to save you the time, hence it's going to minimize the financial damages and impact on your infrastructure, on your reputation, and everything. DDoS mitigation service is important. There are many providers for that specific service. I'm not going to name any, but many alternatives exist on the market, so you have to do your due diligence and implement one. Load balancing, firewall configuration, and extremely important. Patch and update systems, understandable. Web application security, again, this is the moment where you have to do penetration tests. I'm not going to repeat myself. Redundancy and failover. It's really important to have redundancy and failover. Why? Because what's going to happen if your load balancers stop working? What's going to happen if the DNS servers stop responding, the DNS system? What's going to happen if your internet provider just cuts your connection? You have to have a secondary, apart from the primary, to handle those scenarios so that the business continuity is not going to be affected. So we have to implement a redundant network infrastructure and ensure failover mechanisms are in place. Employee awareness and training. Communication plan, something that's actually underestimated, just as with the incident response plan. Communication planning is really important. You have to have a person that is dedicated in a specific scenario to conduct the communication to implement the communication strategy. You have to have a communication strategy with your clients, with your interested parties, that could be stakeholders, that could be the police, for example. You have to have that because there is certain information that cannot be shared until further investigation is conducted and completed, but you cannot really leave out your clients or stakeholders in the dark. They have to know what's going on, why the website is not working, why are they losing money due to lost opportunities and so on. So you have to have a way to communicate. Backup and recovery is clear. How does your organization know if it is experiencing a DDoS attack? So they have given a lot of examples, but generally we can summarize it with the following couple of examples, right? So the first one is if you notice slowdown on your website, or if you're noticing that you're losing connection to specific services, or if you notice anomalies in the traffic, or let's say that you have a specific client IP that is creating a massive traffic to your server through the web application. So this is very weird, and you have to investigate further to discover that, all right, this is actually a denial of service attack happening right now. You have to identify it. In order for you to identify it, you have to have the instruments to do it. That's why you need IDS, that's why you need CDN providers, that's why you need clear communication with your ISP provider and so on. You have to look at the data to identify what's wrong. How organizations can respond to denial of service incident. First, you need to identify the attack, right? Then you have to have an incident response plan so that you can use it. Then you need to notify your service providers. That's the ISP. From my personal experience, I had an incident where a cybercriminal organization was targeting my website with a distributed denial of service, which failed because I had an action plan. I contacted the CDN, I contacted the ISP, I had a firewall in place. I basically had a lot of layers and security solutions that can help me to deal with the situation. And my application was down for like no longer than 1 or 2 minutes. And I reacted fast, and we dealt with the scenario appropriately, right? So, for example, the ISP can block foreign IPs or something like that. You can brainstorm ideas with them, or just draw from the incident response plan what specifically you can do with your ISP provider. Again, gather evidence. This is extremely important because due to the downtime of your services, there could be financial losses for your clients, depending on what you're doing, of what your industry is, or the service that you're providing. So there could be a lawsuit against you. It's not out of the picture, right? So you need to have all the data, all the evidence from this incident. This includes timestamps, IP addresses, packet captures, any logs, alerts, any information that is connected in one way or another to this incident. Also, this can help you to provide this information to the police or the FBI or whatever agency is working on the case so that they can investigate and come to a conclusion. Traffic filtering is really important. Bandwidth and resources, basically to scale up or down depending on how much bandwidth you need. Communicate internally, externally is really important. And learn from the attack. You have to zoom out after the incident occurred. You are back up and running. You have to investigate, all right, how did my incident response plan help me? Are there any gaps that we missed? What is missing from the incident response plan? Are there any controls that failed or any controls that worked? How did they work? What did they fail? How we can improve the security or our reaction time? Use mitigations outlined in this guide. I'm going to post a link. Implement some steps to protect yourself. Provide attacking IPs to your ISP. That's something that I have discussed. Keep in mind that the reflection DDoS attacks typically originate from legitimate public servers, meaning that if you blacklist certain server, you can actually blacklist an entire scope of legitimate clients from a specific place, causing a denial of service yourself to your clients. Consider asking your ISP to implement port and packet size filtering. So, what steps should your organization take if it has suffered a DDoS attack? Of course, assess the impact, restore services, perform post-incident analysis, implement remediation strategies, review security controls, I'm just going through them quickly because we have discussed the majority of those. And of course, I'm gonna repeat myself. It's really important for you to thoroughly examine this document. I'm gonna post it in the description so you can see it yourself. In the case of such a scenario, such an incident, CISA and FBI urges you to promptly report incidents to your local FBI field office or CISA at those communication channels. Akamai, Cloudflare and Google contributed to this guide. That's great. That's perfect. Thank you. Well, that was a document. Hopefully it was useful to you. And if you have any questions, if you need consultancy in helping you choose some vendor for, let's say, the CDN or the firewall or any of the security solutions that you have identified that you need, or you need help identifying what security solutions you need, you can reach us out at any point in time. Again, we are a company that provide penetration testing, so we can help you. We are actually specialized in providing penetration testing, so we can help you discover vulnerabilities preemptively and help you mitigate those hidden risks and threats to your organization and infrastructure to ensure business continuity. With that, thank you for watching and see you in our next video.